What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feeling like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Weisz.
Dr. Jeremy Weisz here. I am the founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Thanks for tuning into this special Best Of episode where we'll take a look back at some of our favorite moments from previous conversations. This episode is brought to you by Rise25. At Rise25, we help B2B businesses give to and connect to their Dream 200 relationships and partnerships. We do this in two ways. Number one, we are an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast for ROI. We do the strategy, accountability, and full execution and production. Number two, we are also an easy button for your company's corporate gifting. We make gifting and staying top of mind to your clients, partners, and prospects simple and seamless and affordable. Some companies even send gifts to staff from a culture perspective. All you have to do is give us the list of people you want to follow up and keep in touch with, and we do everything else from there, from gift selection to the card to your branding on the box. We call ourselves the magic elves that run in the background to make it as stress-free as possible for companies so they can build relationships and run their business. For me, the number one thing in my life is relationships, and I am always looking at how to give to my best relationships. And I've found no better way over the past decade than having them on my podcast, featuring what they are working on and sharing it with the world, and also sending delicious treats in the mail every few months for years. If you have thought about starting a podcast or gifting, do it. If you have questions, email us at support@rise25.com or go to rise25.com to learn more. Now, let's look back at some of our favorite moments from past conversations.
The problem is the thinking that got us here from all the way back to when this is all stuff that he talks about. And wow, this is crazy. But essentially, at one point, we were just like, ugh, like kill.
I'm
and then
still like that, David.
Yeah, no. But like as far as as far as like we didn't have any, like we were just like lived in our cave kind of thing. And then at one point, we were like, oh well, like we figured out our area, and then somebody was like, hey, let's put a boat in the water and see how far we can go. And then they went far and started conquering other people, and they're like, oh, I got all the gold. Oh, like I want more gold than that guy. And then there's this thinking of like, well, I want to have the biggest castle and the most gold, and I want to control the most people, and it's just like that was that part of humanity. But we've reached a point now where that's not necessary anymore. But there's like, I want my God to be the God. I want my temple, my way of abortion or not abortion, or like all these things that just really don't fucking matter. They don't matter.
Well, it all begins with controlling one's emotions. And that's really what I had to work on. Though there were probably two I had to really work on the most. The understanding the clash of belief systems, which I'll explain in a moment. But I had to really work on controlling my own emotions. As human beings, we are emotional creatures. Even the most logical amongst us, we are still emotional. We make major decisions based on emotion, and we back those decisions up with logic. We rationalize or tell ourselves rational lies in order to justify our emotional decisions. But we also, as emotional beings, we allow our buttons to be pushed by people. And we become mad and angry and sad and hurt. And when we react to these things that people do, we're taking ourselves out of a power position. We're not mighty because we're not controlling ourselves. So it's only when we're in control of our own emotions, it's only when we're the boss of ourselves, are we in a position to be able to take what could be a negative, potentially negative situation or person and turn it around for a win, as a win for everyone involved.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, how can, it's the idea of how do you create a irresistible offer, right? And as you're listening or watching, what is your irresistible offer? Do you have one, or do you have several, right? You might have multiple products. Do you have an irresistible offer built around them? If your stuff is not selling, right, it may mean you don't have an irresistible offer, not in your eyes, by the way. It's in your client's eyes. How do you know you have an irresistible offer? Is people buy it, right? And it's not about a selling system, it's about a buying system. And there's a big difference. Like Apple, as you think about companies in the world that we can kind of connect to, is Apple, right? Apple has a buyer's culture. They have a buyer's system. Starbucks has a buyer's system. They're both high premium priced in their niche, in their category, but yet people.
The new iPad comes out, boom, people are lined up around the corner.
Stand up, line around the block, right? Just like that. It's a buyer's culture. So if you have an irresistible offer, the key is you know it by the fact that people buy it. So if you don't have that happening, then you might want to go back to like, how are you making this presentation in your client's eyes, in their view?
Exactly. That people always ask me, I've made a few videos on this. How long should this video be? I'm like, well, you have to answer those 4 questions because, and also if you're putting it on YouTube, it should be a lot longer. It should be as long as you can get someone to pay attention because YouTube, that they reward that view time. Whereas Facebook, maybe you want them to really quickly move over to someplace else off of Facebook because you don't want them getting distracted. You've got to be thinking about those things and plan your videos accordingly. Because I see so much that the biggest mistake that people make in video marketing is they think a filmmaker is a videographer or a video marketer. Mm-hmm. And that's why we develop story crews, because we're training videographers, we're training editors to think like marketers, and that there's a big difference, a huge difference.
What's the difference?
I mean, it's the difference between understanding how to build value and understanding your audience versus making something just pretty, right? I mean, it's the difference between, I always use this analogy, but if you've heard me before, it's the difference between the Adventures of Pluto Nash and Paranormal Activity. Adventures. You remember Adventures of Pluto Nash?
No.
It was an Eddie Murphy movie that was in like 2001 was $250 million. So now you're talking like probably $500 million movie that, and obviously you don't remember it, but Paranormal Activity was I think sub $50,000 movie, but they knew their audience. They knew how to tell a story. They knew the moment, what was going on in the world. And they made, I want to say something like $150 million in the box office. It's probably a lot more than that. I could, I'm off right now, but there's the difference, right? That's the difference between filmmaking. Adventures Pluto Nash had all the right filmmakers and someone that understands marketing. And I was just talking to Daniel Harmon. He's one of the guests on Giants of Video on our video summit. And we talk exactly about this because he's like, nothing's scarier than a client coming to me with a video and me not having any data, not understanding the market. And he's like, I just can't do that.
And your reference to what moves the needle or who helps move the needle, I love that being the conduit for us to talk about this and for us to connect, because the evolution of us all, let alone the finance leaders, to understanding what role we need to play and how easy it is for us to communicate in this day and age, given changes in technology and culture, our connectedness, but also the challenges and opportunities that come with that. I will tell you a major driver for that evolution of the CFO role and CFO decision-making is that we as finance leaders, and I'm one of those, have never shied away from the idea and the natural desire to understand basis for decision-making. That term basis began as a quantifiable kind of numbers-driven piece. Basis can also be a qualifiable, what I see and hear in the environment around me. But our natural willingness and ability to explain and understand and communicate a basis for decision-making. I had my first real-time understanding of that back in 2008 when we had our last go-round of challenge and crisis. And finance leaders were saying, I just need to understand how we got there and how we can position ourselves for response. And I said, no, you don't just need to understand, you need to communicate it and understand how to communicate it. And that's what's led to this sense of connectivity and purpose that I've become all about. And hopefully is the reason why that CEO said, you know what moves the needle? Finance leaders.
I think for business owners, when they're approaching 7 figures, it's dealing with people. The compensation, they haven't quite figured out what to pay people. The cash flow off of payroll, meaning you're paying people, is there an ROI in it? Is it freeing up your time? What should their comp structure be? And a lot of times people work for, business owners and entrepreneurs thinking they're going to make gobs of money right away. And they don't even have a clear growth pattern on what they want. So what I think is best is when you're hiring people, not only to look at the money aspect of it, but to get clear on the growth path that an employee wants to take. Notice I say employee, because actually a lot of mistakes I see, I'm just gonna call it this way. I guarantee you that 42 gazillion people are going to disagree with me, but everyone's hiring VAs and everyone's doing VAs who live in Guam, Philippines, Peru, and South Indonesia. But there's nothing wrong with hiring employees. Literally, they work for you all the time and they're part of the team, and they can even be remote, but I think employees are important because they're dedicated people that work for you and that are part of your deal. So when you're hiring an employee, of course, there's an employment package with, benefits and 401k and comp and bonus and all that. But what about the growth avenue and the growth path for that person? If they don't feel like they're going to achieve growth, they're going to bail at some point in time. And then the mistake that you make is you invested time and energy and money in this person, and then they're gonzo, and now it's you wearing 75 hats instead of 74 hats. I wear about 17 hats. I'm down from 20.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feeling like 100 grand.